Hello, my name is Sophie. Welcome back to my channel. We're going to talk about books. Well, I say we. I'm going to talk about books. You're welcome to talk back, leave some comments. I would love if you did, in fact. What kind of books today? Specifically, books I would like to get to this autumn.
Bibliosophie.
It's September, and it feels very normal, natural, and proper to make an autumn TBR. But I'm actually not really a big TBR person. I have made a lot of TBRs for YouTube and even for myself, but I kind of always fail at really sticking to them. Other books catch my fancy. I forget to list certain things, of course, but also I just sort of discover new things. I'm what these parts of the internet would call a mood reader, I think, predominantly more than a strict list reader. And that's fine. So I'm a tiny bit self-conscious about making another TBR video. It feels slightly futile because I'm not going to get to all of these books, I think. This is going to be a pretty short list, but I already know I'm not going to read every one of these books. However, I don't think that a TBR is my promise to you of future content. Rather, it's the books that interest me. And if we share similar book tastes, I think you will probably also be interested by these books, and you might want to hear about them. The first three books I'm going to talk about are books that have been sent to me by publishers. I have other books sent to me by publishers that to a greater or lesser degree also interest me, but these three I felt would be particularly interesting, particularly soon. The first one is out by Hogarth on the 17th of September, so as of my posting this, it'll be tomorrow, actually. It is a collection of short stories, and what is it called? I forgot again. A Sunny Place for Shady People. It's by Mariana Enriquez, and it's translated by Megan McDowell. I have been interested in reading her work for a while. Our Share of Night is a novel she has previously written that I've been meaning to get to for a while, and I've never gotten to her. So when I saw this in my mail, it seemed like kind of a perfect time to finally get to reading her. The one caveat is that I don't tend to like short stories. So we'll see if I can set that anti-proclivity aside and actually read these. I would like to, at least. The next is Our Evenings. Yes, I had to check if it was one evening or several. This is out by Random House by Hollinghurst, and it's out on the 8th of October. The description of this is: Dave Wynne, the son of a Burmese man he's never met and a British dressmaker, is 13 years old when he gets a scholarship to a top boarding school. With the doors of elite English society cracked open for him, heady new possibilities emerge, even as Dave is exposed to the envy and viciousness of his wealthy classmates. So we're talking race, class, sexuality. It's kind of a chunker, just under 500 pages, but it felt right as the new school year begins for me to get into some prep school, boarding school, hijinks and infamy. So yeah, this caught my attention. And finally, Vivienne by Emmalea Russo. This is out by Arcade. Yes, Arcade. And it came out earlier this week. I think it came out on the 10th of September. I believe it is out and about. On Instagram, somebody representing this book reached out to me asking if I was interested in it, and I said yes, because the description seemed very much up my alley. It's kind of art world darkness. Did Vivienne Volcker kill Wilma Lang? This question has dogged Vivienne ever since Wilma jumped from a window to her death shortly after Volcker stole her lover, the visionary artist Hans Bellmer, in the 1970s. Once a famous artist and fashion icon, Volcker is now in her 80s and spends her days in religious contemplation in rural Pennsylvania alongside her daughter, Velour Bellmer. her granddaughter Vesta Furio, these names, her much younger boyfriend, a garbage man named Lou, and Franz, the family dog. So I'm very intrigued by the premise of this book. Next category of books, 4 books that I have talked about before but still haven't gotten to. At least one of them, which I have mentioned several times before, kind of shamefully. First up is La Force de l'Âge by Simone de Beauvoir. I forgot what this translates to in English, but I will put it in the description, the video description down below. This is the second volume of Beauvoir's extensive memoirs. This is her kind of I think it's the prime of life. Haha! I am pretty sure. This is when she is kind of in her prime. She's young, but very much an adult woman. This is very much about her relationship with Sartre. Yeah, I've been meaning to get to this, and I would like to get to it before the year is out. Next up, Une si longue lettre by Mariama Bâ. This is a Senegalese, very short novel classic. I mentioned it in my video 10 classics I would like to get to this year. I have done very badly in actually getting to most of those 10 books, but I would like to get to this one, which is about Senegalese life and the experience of a woman who writes a very long letter. All right, this one's another kind of shameful one. We have been talking about the book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa quite a lot this year. I mentioned it in books I would like to read, 10 classics I would like to read this year. I mentioned it in my summer TBR. I mentioned it in books I brought back from France. I have the translation in French from the Portuguese. Am I actually going to read this bloody thing? This is maybe on this TBR the only thing that I really actually feel like I have to get to, because I have been talking about it so much. So this is the only one that I'm actually pretty ashamed that I haven't gotten to yet, and will be a tiny bit ashamed to not read. So let's check in at the end of the year, and I hope I can say, hey, look, I read this. And finally, just a recent addition to my TBR, The Pumpkin Eater by Penelope Mortimer. I mentioned this recently in a book haul. I have it out from the library, and I'd like to get to it quite soon. I almost started it a few days ago, and then other things got in the way, other books, but I'd like to read it quite soon. What's the lighting doing? I'm not sure. All right, lastly, some books that I have not talked about ad nauseum on this channel before. László, Krasznahorkai is somebody I've been wanting to read for a while. This is a collection of short stories, and what is it called? I forgot. The World Goes On. I borrowed it from someone a few days ago and still haven't even started it. I even walked around with it for a couple of days and never actually got to reading it, but I'm very curious about his work, and this seemed like a fine way to dip in. It is short stories though, so who knows whether I'll get along with this collection, but I thought I should at least try. Don't mind the helicopter passing by. And Essays 2 by Lydia Davis. I just picked this up a couple of weeks ago, used. I have read part of this already. I already owned Essays 1 and liked it and read it a few years ago, and read part of this 2 year ago, maybe, let's say, but I never read all of them. I'm glad to finally own it. I don't think I'll read the entirety of this in the next few months, but I'd like to dip in and dip back in to these essays. There are a lot of essays on Proust in this collection, some of which I've already read. A lot of essays on writing and reading, translation, absolutely my cup of tea. And finally, I don't have a prop for the third book of this grouping, but I do have out from the library as an audiobook, Dune by Frank Herbert. Does that surprise you? A little bit. It surprises me. I've been curious about Dune for a really long time. It's a classic. You've probably heard of it. And I finally bit the bullet and got it out as an audiobook a few days ago, actually. And I'd like to finally read it. The one caveat is that the audiobook, I think, is probably very good. I've listened to a tiny bit of it already. It has a huge cast of voice actors. And I've said before on this channel, I actually don't like it when audiobooks have several readers. I don't like it when dialogue is treated like a play. I would just like one narrator to just read the book. I don't like a sort of like radio play version of an audiobook. So we'll see how I get on with that, because it's quite long, famously, and of course convoluted. So we'll see if that turns me off. So little update for you, just 2 days later, I was at my friend's housewarming today. She was getting rid of extra books, and guess what she was getting rid of? Kismet, baby. Before I wrap up the video, I have a short hiatus announcement to make. It's not going to be a long one. Knowing me, it'll be a few weeks, I think. 2, 3, very, very short. Do I not trust that you'll be able to be okay without a hiatus announcement? Of course. I'm sure you don't care that you might not see a video from me next week or the week after. I'm announcing this mostly for myself, to hold myself accountable. Making these videos doesn't take me that much time, but it takes me a little time, and mostly it takes me some brain space. And I'm starting to be quite busy with the new season, and I think I really need to focus that brain space as much as possible to various gigs coming up and writing that I have to do. I have noticed that I'm thinking more about YouTube than I used to, more than I'd like to, especially this summer. I think especially because I had a number of videos that did quite well for me. And so I'm just thinking more about the whole YouTube endeavor. And I don't want to. I don't want to think that much about how a video is going to do, comments and things like this. So I need to step away a little bit. I'll be back very soon, ideally just with a slightly better head on my shoulders. Knowing me, maybe with a different haircut or color. I'll be back quite soon, I promise. You'll be fine, I know. I'll be fine. And yeah, maybe I'll do a check-in of how I'm doing on this here autumn TBR. I'd love to know, however, what you would like to read the next few months. I know that it's not autumn for everybody, so give me your spring TBR as well. And yes, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you soon-ish. Ciao.